I think, I really do think that if we don't tell our own stories, no one else tells them. And Arab cinema is in existence for many, many years, but we've not certainly had the exposure to see Arab cinema much outside the confines of the Middle East. And also the other way, bringing films here. And so I think, of course, festivals like this, with its emphasis on community, on really reaching people in the community, because no one, better than I do, the power of cinema and the power of seeing people who look like us on screen. And the only way to really do that is to have local people tell their stories, but tell them, I hope, with great excellence.
Is it also a way to get out of its own box? The same way I can make a parallel between Egyptian cinema and Bollywood cinema, who's self-sufficient, but with filmmakers like you, finally went out of its box and reached a more international audience.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that cinema is such a unbelievably populist medium, and it really connects cultures and breaks down walls, because the humanity of it, the universality of human emotion is a given. And I personally have always believed that the more truthful and local you are in your cinema, the more universal it could become. With Monsoon Wedding, with The Namesake, with so many of my films which are deeply about a specific experience, it really has reached millions of people. And I would love to see that. We don't know that about day-to-day Arab or certainly Qatari life, and so many misconceptions and twisted notions of what is a woman's life under the hijab, what is Islam and how does it oppress this or that. There are such questions and misperceptions, especially in the West, that the one way of really silencing that and illuminating what the reality is through cinema, but cinema told locally.
Absolutely, and it's always been a parallel theme in all of your films, empowering the Indian woman, in Amelia, empowering the American woman. How important is that theme to you?
Well, not so much only women, I choose themes that get under my skin and don't let me go, but it is like someone said about my films, I don't make political films, but I make films politically, and that is true, because I really do, I think what you choose to speak about is a point of view. And that's why so many American films about Vietnam never had a Vietnamese character in them, and so you only understand the American point of view. So similarly, I like in my films, and I also like other people's films, to be showing us realities that we don't know about, and yet those realities are also about seeing yourself on screen. In Monsoon Wedding, people said it's like my Jewish family, my Danish family, my Bulgarian uncle, everyone is on screen. I think people are universal, and the question is to know that you have something to say and to make it in a way, craft it in a way that reaches.
What was the most inspiring factor of everything about Amelia Earhart for you?
Well, what captured me to make this film was her, when I watched the 16 hours of newsreels of Amelia, the real Amelia Earhart, I was struck by, even though she was iconic in her lifetime, she was incredibly and consistently humble. And humility is not a trait you often associate with America. And that captured me. And then when I read about her and read her own writing, I was also very inspired by the fact that she just refused to accept boundaries for her dreams,
I'm going to fly around the world.
It can't be done.
Well, let's change that.
If you do make it, you will be the first.
I'm a flyer, pursuing my passion for the fun of it.
And so what if she wanted to fly in the 1920s and 30s, when flying was a dance of death each time? She never even thought, oh, she's a female, or she's, and women are supposed to be at home. And she just assumed that that was her dream, and she was going to systematically find a way to do it. But what also struck me was how she balanced the ecstasy she felt in the sky with the responsibility she had on the earth. She always wanted to engage with the world beyond herself. And I think that seesaw between passion and responsibility is a seesaw that we all are on, in the modern day. And we all try to find that route, men or women. And I wanted to be in Amelia's company as she figured that out.
How do you feel the story resonates today with what's happening in the aviation industry, for instance?
Well, I think thanks to Amelia and Jean Vidal and all those people in the 20s and 30s, their dream was to make aviation a commercial reality for everyone. And it is extraordinary how much we take that for granted, that today I fly in from New York, tomorrow I go to India, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, in the 20s and 30s, it was like going to the moon. And that's extraordinary. Every time I sit on a plane, I think, wow, Amelia really worked towards making this happen.
Another recurrent theme in all your films is the idea of nationality, where you belong, and how the world becomes global and, you know, becomes local again. How important is that for you?
Well, I think it's so important because now it's you know, it's like planes are like cinema. You know, we like how Amelia used to say that. You know, aviation will annihilate the distance between cultures. Similarly, cinema does that in a very real way now. And as a result, I mean, the world has become closer, and there are so many people who have hybrid identities and hybrid lives. And I'm always fascinated with when does an outsider become an insider? When does a settler, or can a settler become a native? You know, what is that? I mean, that seesaw again is ripe with drama, you know, and it's astonishing that if you make a film about that, you know, the Gogol of Namesake, for instance, it's unbelievable. The lines of people that went to see the Namesake were all like initially incredibly hybrid, you know, in the same way as Mississippi Masala was unusually early in this hybrid sort of kind of movie. And it's wonderful to see that, you know, there's such an audience of people who completely identify with trying to find out who they are, you know, because they come from so many places.
You're an Indian New Yorker, I'm a Lebanese Brit. You know, we all get lost in translation.
But we all relate to each other because we all
Absolutely.
know, you know, what is the smell of home. You know, we all understand that nostalgia is possibly useless. You know, it's engaging with the present in a full way that is really the only answer to the confusion of being from everywhere.
That's true. A final question about working everywhere in the world. You mentioned Africa. How important is the continent to you as a region?
Well, I used to always regard myself as a daughter-in-law of Africa, but now I regard myself as a daughter. I've lived in Uganda now since 1989, and I've planted a garden there, which is a very important way for me to feel literally the roots, you know. And about 6 years ago, we established Maisha, which is a free East African film school, because I really believe that if we don't tell our stories, no one else will tell them. And so little of the African story is on screen, and hardly ever made by Africans. And I feel like nothing I've seen really captures so much the dignity and the power of the people where I live, you know, in Uganda. And so we established Maisha, and so because of Maisha and the garden and the family, I'm very much at home there, and very much want to be engaged with the world there.